Alright. I just woke up. I had a weird dream that an old man took a dump in a pool, and his son and he laughed and made up because they were estranged before, but apparently taking a dump in a pool can save your father-son relationship. I don't know. Anyway, let's get started. I think all these horror movies are starting to seep into my dreams a little bit. Weird. Okay, I just finished The Mist. Wow. That ending is a lot to take in. I know it's kind of infamous and it's made some Watch Mojo style lists of controversial movie endings. It is dark. Really, really dark. So I'll say that. No. Now, about the film itself, I mean, I was very impressed. I think this is an excellent survival horror film. The CGI is like 2007 low-budget CGI, so it didn't age well. I mean, it's like PS2 graphics. But the practicals in this thing are actually really good when they show up. Since the film is a low-budget movie, though, I mean, I give it a pass for, some sus-looking CGI. It's not, up on my priorities watching it. The real horrors are the sociological horrors that come with this kind of horror genre, the survival horror genre. Just the whole idea of what would you or the people in your life that you think you know best, what would they do if they were in an apocalypse-style scenario? There are a lot of moral dilemmas. It's very much a trolley scenario style movie where you kind of have to reflect yourself and the people in your life on the characters. And that leads me to talk about Frank Darabont, because him pulling this off so well in this movie demonstrates why he was perfect to adapt Robert Kirkman's Walking Dead comics. And you see situations similar to those presented in this film in the first season of The Walking Dead. Also, while we're talking about Frank Darabont, there are a lot of familiar faces in this. He, like James Gunn, uses a similar pool of actors and actresses for every one of his films. So Melissa McBride, Laurie Holden, Jeffrey DeMunn, they all show up in this movie, and it's kind of nice to see someone who clearly makes films with his friends, people that he likes. That was cool. And while we're talking about actors, they sell it. The thing is, so this movie, the reason why the CGI doesn't bother me is purely because they're the icing on the cake. The real horrors are the ones that come from how the people react to these scenarios, and the acting sells it big time. It's a mark of a good director when across the board there's not a bad performance, and that's the case here. Everyone sells their role to a T. Toby Jones is so likable as this guy named Ollie, who seems like he's just a kindly clerk at, or cashier at the store. Turns out to be like a real... he comes in clutch a lot. It's kind of cool. Frank Darabont has produced his best work when adapting Stephen King's work. And this includes The Green Mile and The Shawshank Redemption. And here, it's no exception. He's on all cylinders. I gotta say, this is him adapting one of Stephen King's nuttier ideas, because the mystery of what's going on is kind of fun, but once you actually learn why the mist is there and why these things are happening without spoiling anything, it's kind of in the same wheelhouse as It Chapter 2 or that gigantic space tortoise that crosses dimensions in his books. Yeah, it's like that. Stephen King, look, I respect his role in horror and in storytelling. I think he's a very respectable storyteller. But I think a lot of his premises are so crazy and coked up that I can't really take him as seriously as others do. I don't revere him like this god of horror that a lot of people do. This movie, it's all in the execution of this weird-ass idea that Stephen King had that I think makes the movie for me.
Hey, so I'm editing right now, and I just want to clear this up. I get why Stephen King is respected as much as he is. I think I personally don't find his premises scary on their own. I find his stories interesting. I just don't think of them as super scary. And then, but they're interesting. And then people like Frank Darabont in this film, or Stanley Kubrick in The Shining, can really bring out the horror in it with their artistry. I just don't think Stephen King is as scary as some people say he is. He is definitely weird and creative, and I appreciate him for that. So don't come at me and say that I am speaking sacrilege about Stephen King. I get that he is a storytelling giant, yes. It's just not as scary for me. Like, I'm just saying that he's weird, okay? Like, you can't just forget Maximum Overdrive.
My name is Stephen King. I want to tell you about a movie called Maximum Overdrive. It's the first one I've directed.
Wow. Who was driving it?
I don't know.
You want a war? You got one.
I'm gonna scare the hell out of you.
And then also there's this weird office zoom thing that the camera does all the time in this film. Yeah, I don't know why that decision was made. It didn't spoil the broth for me. Yeah, I mean, this is an excellent film. My very few complaints are just little minor things. Really, the enjoyment of it all is in how Frank directs this cast, writes this screenplay from the novella, and how the cast performs all of the material. Marcia Gay Harden is amazing as sort of this weird, really religious, Old Testament fire and brimstone woman who turns out to be quite the formidable obstacle for the characters and what they're trying to achieve in this film. It's an example of how people who the old world would shun might rise to a position of dangerous power after the old rules are thrown out. And it's really fun to see her just sink her teeth into this despicable psycho role. I think the ending is really jarring, and if I weren't expecting something really jarring, because I had heard about the infamous ending, I would have been thrown. It would be like, I'd have to sit on this one for a while. But I can see now sort of how the ending works in the context of the whole film. And that could be its own video, really. But, yeah. So up next, I'm going to watch Red Dragon, which is the Silence of the Lambs prequel. And I'm really excited to see Sir Anthony Hopkins in the Hannibal Lecter role again. I loved him in the first film, and having just watched him as Van Helsing in Bram Stoker's Dracula, I'm excited to get more of the guy, because he's an amazing, renowned thespian. Plus, this movie is based on the book that forms the premise of the Hannibal TV series with Mads Mikkelsen, which I know is very acclaimed. I'm just excited to see this story told in any form. I'll get into the TV show at some point, but, you know, movies take up less time. And I think this is the best place to start for me. So yeah, I'm excited to see this one. And I'll get back to you. Bye-bye. So, I just finished Red Dragon. And it was excellent. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, where to begin? First off, great cast. You have Philip Seymour Hoffman, Ralph Fiennes, Edward Norton, Harvey Keitel, and of course Anthony Hopkins, and probably his defining role of his entire career. I really loved all of the performances that these people gave. Ray Fiennes in particular as Red Dragon / the Tooth Fairy. You may know him as the Tooth Fairy if you watch the show. He did a really good job. I really felt sorry for the guy. And shout out to insert name here. I'm going to show it on the screen. I forget as of recording this. She did a great job playing this blind woman who kind of sees the human side of him. It's sort of like this character has a human, like, innocent side in his head, but then also in his head lives his grandmother who was really abusive, and then this sort of god persona that he has somehow attached to the Red Dragon painting. Anyway, it's really cool. Very complex character to play, and he pulls it off phenomenally. And, you know, she's a great way to introduce us to the human side of this really complex monster. They don't overuse Hannibal. They don't spam him. I know a lot of Hannibal Lecter related material kind of glamorizes the character and spams him like he's some kind of catchphrase, like Ridley Scott's Hannibal or Hannibal Rising or whatever that prequel is called, the really crappy one. Anyway, this seemed like the studio saying, okay, we got to do something that's true to the actual books, and so they returned to form. And yeah, they succeeded. Also, I was surprised that this was directed by Brett Ratner, of all people. Like, I know he's kind of become a meme in the film industry for just kind of having little unique vision. He's used by studios to get movies made, and they're functional and they work, but, you know, he's a tool. And not just as a professional, he's actually apparently a tool in real life, like as a person. And I think he has some sexual harassment claims against him. We'll not talk about that here, but all things being equal, he did a good job directing this. It has the atmosphere of Silence of the Lambs. I kind of wonder what Jonathan Demme would have done if he had directed it, but still, it's written by the same guy who made the Academy Award-winning screenplay for Silence of the Lambs. With that and Sir Anthony Hopkins delivering his final turn as Hannibal Lecter, it's almost like no matter what director you put on this thing, it's got the right strong material from the book and the right people acting in it and writing it, so that you could not mess it up anyway. Even if you are the guy who gave us X-Men The Last Stand. Whatever. He didn't mess it up. I really loved the relationship between Hannibal Lecter and Will Graham, which I'm guessing is really what the show expands upon. I'm looking forward to checking the show out now, because Will and Hannibal have some great scenes in this, and their dynamic is worth exploring further and further. And I imagine over the 3 seasons of the show, it leads to some really compelling drama and kind of a bromance between the two of them, but like a begrudging one. I don't know. I'm excited. This one got my blood pumping. Like, there are some intense scenes. It's not super over-reliant on gore or anything. It's just a really solid, suspenseful film. And the reason that I would recommend it for Halloween is just the psycho killers that this franchise, you know, has. They're just good, creepy characters for a Halloween movie. I mean, Hannibal the Cannibal, come on. There are a few creepier characters than him. So now my plans are, my dog is outside, and I'm gonna probably let him in, and I don't know, I'll probably take him on a walk. And so ends my massive weekend of horror movie madness. I had so much fun with this. I hope I have occasion to do it in the near future. Until then, I guess this will be leading into my outro, so I wonder what Michael on camera, probably at his desk wearing a different shirt than I'm currently wearing, is up to. Let's see what he's doing right now. Thank you, voice memos, Michael. I mean, once again, I'm just stoked that I got to do this, and I really want to do it again if an occasion should arise. I already kind of have an idea of the films I would do this for if I did it again. I think I'm going to break it up into segments and release them on Instagram, so, you know, follow me in the description. That's like a shameless plug, oh my god. If you like this, let me know, and I'll leave it at that. Happy spooky season. Ooh.